the war has reached the Russian rear. Ukraine's new weaponry is changing the rules of the game. Strike after strike, Ukraine is taking out enemy military targets. Ukrainian drones and missiles are turning the occupiers' rear into a scorched-earth zone. The Ukrainian Armed Forces are shattering the myth of Russia's inviolability. Such strikes are constantly increasing, and we'll tell you what weaponry is making this possible. Watch now for all the details.
Distances of hundreds or even thousands of kilometers are no obstacle for Ukrainian weapons. Russian oil refineries.
Well, that's it. It's clear. The refineries are fucked. That's obvious even without saying it.
Key facilities of the military-industrial complex and the Russian war machine.
And
recently, in response to ongoing shelling of Ukraine's civilian infrastructure, Ukrainian forces have also begun targeting critical Russian infrastructure.
Where are we going? Now that's a ride. Yeah, here in Siberia.
When the Kremlin threatens blackouts for Ukrainians, Russians should also prepare for a cold and difficult winter.
If they threaten blackouts, for example, in the capital of Ukraine, the Kremlin should realize that a blackout will also come to the Russian capital.
For a long time, Western allies restricted Ukraine's ability to strike deep into Russian territory. As a result, Ukraine has built up its own long-range arsenal. According to the head of Ukrainian intelligence, Kirilo Budanov, today 99% of strikes on Russian oil refineries are carried out with Ukrainian weapons.
At the time when all this started, when people said we were fighting with one hand tied behind our back, I tend to agree with your opinion that this is the right interpretation of what was happening then. But now we have our own production, and it is precisely our domestic production that has given us the ability to use our forces and resources the way we see fit. The Kremlin understands only the language of force. The best argument in any negotiations with Moscow is a powerful Ukrainian army and military-industrial complex. In particular, our own production of long-range drones and missiles, with which Ukraine regularly strikes targets in Russia located thousands of kilometers or more from the front line.
In order to somehow bring this war to a stalemate, to shift it, we need to learn not only to repel enemy attacks on the front line, but also to suppress their logistics and their aviation. That's why these capabilities were needed. And I'm not even mentioning the necessity of striking military-industrial complex facilities and Russia's energy system.
this is Belgorod. Basically, it's a mess here. There's no electricity anywhere in Belgorod at all.
If the simplest drones to manufacture are used for strikes on Russian oil refineries, jet-powered drones are better suited for targeting military-industrial complex facilities, like the Polyanitia, Peklo, and Bars types. Their technical specifications are not disclosed. Experts suggest that the range of these jet-powered drones is between 500 and 700 kilometers. The main advantage is their low cost compared to their
competitors are individuals or organizations that operate in the same industry or market, striving to achieve similar goals and attract the same customers, which encourages businesses to continuously improve their products and services. And now for dessert, let's take a moment to enjoy something sweet and delicious.
Ukrainian long-range missiles are in store for the occupiers, Long Neptunes and Flamingos. With a range of 1,000 and 3,000 kilometers respectively, the Ukrainian Pink Bird, in addition to its enormous range, impresses with a warhead weighing about 1,000 kilograms.
Usually, the warhead of a modern cruise missile is 450, but at most 500 kilograms. As a rule, almost all missiles have a 450 kilogram warhead. So what does a 1-ton warhead provide? If it hits a target, for example, an industrial facility, 2 such missiles will completely disable it for at least a year. That is, there will be a single crater about 20 meters in diameter.
Russian terrorists who are relentlessly shelling Ukrainian cities must realize that a retaliatory mirrored strike in response is absolutely inevitable.
The Balkans are entering the war against Russia. Military aid is rushing to Kyiv. Planes and weapons are already on their way. Kosovo and Athens are ready to arm Ukraine to the teeth. Don't miss it. Next, exclusive details about the contribution of Balkan countries to Ukraine's victory.
Recently, Ukraine received a new substantial package of military aid from Croatia. Ukraine and Croatia have also agreed on joint weapons production. Ukraine's Defense Minister Denis Shmyhal and Croatia's Defense Minister Ivan Anušić signed a joint letter of intent to deepen defense industrial cooperation.
He thanked Croatia for providing 13 packages of military aid worth over 200 million euros. We expect the 14th aid package soon and the 15th by the end of this year. During the meeting, we also discussed joint participation in the SAVE mechanism and the possibility of Croatia joining the Pearl initiative. We are grateful for considering this matter. Denis Shmyhal, Minister of Defense of Ukraine.
Already at the beginning of next year, the countries will hold a joint industrial forum for defense product manufacturers. Of course, Croatia is most interested in the production of various drones, which have already revolutionized modern warfare. The Croatian side will also assist Ukraine in the issue of demining territories.
I noted Croatia's role in the work of the demining coalition. The experience of this friendly country is important for clearing our land. The Croatian company Docking has already delivered 69 demining machines and has started producing spare parts in Ukraine. Denis Shmyhal, Minister of Defense of Ukraine.
Greece will soon supply Ukraine with American-made M110A2 howitzers, 150,000 units of ammunition, and Zuni rockets. This military aid, with a total value of about 199 million euros, will be delivered to Ukraine through the Czech Republic. Greece, under pressure from other NATO countries, may also sell some of its fighter jets. Mirage 2000. Greece has already purchased 24 more modern Rafale fighter jets from France. And considering that technical support for the M2005 fighters will end in 2027, Greece is looking to get rid of the old ones. However, negotiations with India over the sale of these fighter jets have reached a deadlock. And other Balkan countries have also not found any interested buyers. Greece is negotiating with France to acquire another 6 to 12 Rafale fighter jets. It is not seeking a price reduction in exchange for the sale of part of the 2000. Now, Athens is negotiating with France to acquire another 6 to 12 Rafales and is arranging for a lower price in exchange for selling part of its Mirage 2000 fleet to Ukraine. Currently, Greece has 25 such aircraft in service. The United States is putting pressure on the country to purchase more weapon systems as part of the Priority Needs List program for Ukraine. Therefore, the purchase of some Mirage 2000s from Athens by Kiev is only a matter of time. Even the partially recognized Republic of Kosovo is helping Ukraine. Pristina has announced the delivery of a new package of military aid to Ukraine. The Balkan country is ready to help as much as it can. The details of the aid are not being disclosed. It is known that it includes mortar shells of various calibers. This includes 120mm, 60mm, and 81mm mortar rounds, military trucks, armored vehicles, and tactical vehicles.
We are determined to support Ukraine in every way possible, according to our conditions and capabilities. Ejub Makadonsi, Minister of Defense of Kosovo.
The Minister of Defense of Kosovo published a video on social media showing Kosovo security forces and the British Army training Ukrainian soldiers. Eastern European countries and the Balkans are actively assisting Ukraine with various types of weaponry and by conducting training sessions on their own territory. Such support clearly demonstrates their attitude toward the Russian world and Putin.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
An incredible drone catastrophe for Russia. Ukraine is destroying hundreds of Russian targets with cheap innovations. Ukrainian drones are turning the war into a bloody rout of the enemy. Russian forces are in chaos. Small technologies, huge victory for Ukraine.
At speeds of over 300 kilometers per hour. These are the movement parameters of the Ukrainian Interceptor drone Sting. The main goal of this little machine is to destroy Russian Shaheds, which the Kremlin is unleashing on Ukraine by the hundreds. Sting is a completely Ukrainian military industry product. Its cost is about $2,500, which is several times cheaper than Russian Shaheds. This is what makes this Interceptor drone indispensable for Ukrainian air defense. Just a year ago, this method of shooting down Shaheds was unrealistic. Now, however, everything has changed dramatically.
What once seemed laughable has turned into an inexpensive and crucial element of Ukraine's defense. While Russia bombards its cities with increasingly powerful waves of explosive drones, Ukraine is more and more often using cheap interceptors to stop them. This weapon shot down 150 strike drones during one recent bombardment. Now Ukraine aims to produce 1,000 interceptors.
One of the world's leading news outlets, Business Insider, writes that Sting-type interceptor drones, which Ukraine is now actively producing, could turn the tide of the war because they cost much.
Missiles, and these interceptor drones, which cost about 10 times less in fact than others, are impressive. The price of a strike drone itself, which is a type of unmanned aerial vehicle that is sent to attack either a civilian or a military target, has directly led to the scaling up and increased adoption of such solutions in recent years. Since
the beginning of 2024, Ukrainian drone engineers and developers have actively started converting quadcopters into drones capable of destroying Shaheds.
The designs of interceptor drones are rapidly evolving. For example, the Sting is equipped with a warhead that accelerates to 340 kilometers per hour using 4 rotating blades. This sensor-guided interceptor, produced by the Ukrainian drone manufacturer Wild Hornets, resembles a handheld missile, and it's small enough to fit in a travel bag. Other interceptors look like small gliders. The crews launching them need to react to threats instantly. A Sting pilot said that his team heads out at night based on intelligence tips with only 10 minutes to act, to intercept incoming Russian drones before they move out of range.
The improvement of interceptor drones never stops, not even for a minute. Success rates range from 30% for some interceptors to 80% or even 90%. Success depends on a large number of factors: the type of targets, interception timing, pilot skills, and many others. Interest in and demand for interceptors has surged sharply not only in Ukraine but also among NATO countries. After the first Russian drones crossed the Polish border, especially since the Kremlin continues to invest huge sums in the development and production of strike drones. Shahed, Ukraine and NATO countries want to have an effective and, most importantly, inexpensive countermeasure.
we are currently negotiating with some fairly major and influential leaders. Certain segments in the world, companies that are interested in purchasing our drones, some technologies, for example, that we have adopted from foreign partners we have worked with, are integrated into our solutions and are of interest. It's significant because we have the largest, unfortunately for us, but fortunately for the world, and for those who manufacture weapons, the largest testing ground in the world of military technologies.
During one of the latest attacks on Ukraine, Russia launched almost 800 aerial targets. And according to Western intelligence estimates, the Kremlin may soon launch up to 2,000 Shahed drones of various modifications. Moreover, in Russia, the Shahed is being modernized, and in the future, it may be able to reach speeds of up to 300 kilometers per hour. So, the appearance of Ukrainian interceptor drones should simplify and make air defense operations more effective. Moreover, from a financial standpoint, Ukrainian interceptors are cost-effective to use, and victory in war always comes down to economically advantageous decisions.